Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where this episode we are planning to do a docking mission. Now we're not planning for this to be like a permanent station or anything. We don't really have the parts for that. All we're going to do is finish up our contract here, and we created last episode the Overkill Docker here. This thing is absolutely overkill, but it will get the job done, and at a reasonable budget, only 28,000. That's not too bad. So I just want to double check our Delta V and our staging here. We can combine this stage together, and then this can go up here. Yeah, the staging is incorrect, so the drogue chutes would go there. I'm glad I checked that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save that, and it doesn't really matter who we send up in this. We're going to be sending all 4 of our Kerbals eventually. We're not going to get any science from this, but that's completely fine. Let's go. Well, we are going to get some, I think, from the contract and from world firsts, but it's not going to be significant. That's for sure. So we're going to go ahead and launch this. All we need to do is get into orbit. We don't have a surface sample from the launch pad. I suppose we wouldn't, would we? We can discard that, but we can grab the surface sample. Sure. And then hop back in. Okay. Yeah, because we upgraded our science facility, that allows us to collect surface samples. That's right. So we're going to go ahead and head up here. Wait, we have a KER on this? Why do we have this info? I feel like I didn't include any flight computer. Is that built into the re-entry module? That'd be weird, right? At any rate, our electric charge is draining. Let's go ahead and go. I'm not sure why we have KER activated here, but let's get out of here. We don't actually need this hidden, or rather visible, so let's go ahead and do that. And let's get turned on over here. And we'll just switch to orbital mode for the moment. There we go. And off we go. We've drifted off of 90 degrees a little bit here, but that's reasonably fine. Okay. For now, we'll stay in surface mode and just lock to prograde. This'll be okay. Cool. So up we go. And our heading is off a little bit, but that's fine. We've got plenty of Delta V. That's a big old tumble. I didn't expect a tumble here. Okay. Well, in that case, we know what we need to do. We are aborting this flight. This was not a simulated flight. I was expecting this to go just fine. But I guess we need some aerodynamics, so that's okay. For now, we will physics warp. And we're going to let our chutes slow us on down. SAS does not need to be on at this point. Oh, our radial mount parachutes were destroyed because we were going too fast. That's okay. We can propulsively land. We're not really going to have a problem with this. Our drogue chutes have deployed, and our drogue chutes are slowing us down on their own, but we're just going to propulsively land here a bit. Let's bring this to around here. Actually, we need to slow down quite a bit more. There we go. Somewhere around here. Cool. So we know what the solution to this is. I was not expecting to actually have problems with this. But we were able to recover everything except for the drogue chutes, so that's not a problem. We'll just have Jeb EVA. We'll grab a surface sample here from the water, and I guess we'll get a little bit of science from that. We'll recover the vessel, and we'll just toss on those fins. That'll be no big deal. I really thought the mainsail gimbaling would have handled that, though. I think it might have had something to do with the fact that we were being pretty aggressive with the gravity turn. So that's okay. We'll hop back in here. And we'll just toss those on. It's not a big deal. we were able to recover basically the entire rocket. Do we want to use tail fins? I mean, they're hilariously large, but also so is this rocket. So that's probably fine. Let's look at our center of mass compared to our aerodynamic overlay. And here should be pretty decent. Okay. That should do the trick. I don't want to load it. Cancel. I want to save. There we go. Let's try this again. To be clear, I think that it would have been fine without the fins if I took a different descent profile, but I don't want to risk the tumbles. Okay. Off we go. So this should be much more stable, in theory. We are heading on over. I want to get the gravity turn somewhat aggressive here. We'll just lock to prograde at this point. There we go. And let's see how this goes. In theory, I don't think that the fins are needed, like I said, but better safe than sorry here, since we did have one tumble incident. And our drogue chutes definitely were destroyed by heat and aero forces, but that's okay. That's because this is definitely not intended to land this entire contraption. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that. This is looking much, much more stable. We're off a little bit on our heading. I don't really care about our inclination, though. It's not that relevant, all things considered. So up we go, and we should have plenty of delta V to do whatever we need to. And for this one, we're just going to target somewhere around 80 kilometers for our orbit. That'll be just fine. Pretty soon here, we're going to need to turn into off of surface mode and into orbital mode, but I think it'll automatically do that soon. We're definitely getting some speed going, but the atmosphere is thinning out, so that should be fine. 93-degree heading is okay. Yeah, that's 80 kilometers there. So we're going to go ahead and cut our throttle, and we're going to add a maneuver here for circularization. It's a little bit low on the horizontal speed, but it's okay. No big deal. Okay, we're going to start rotating on over. Oh, hello. We've got some sunrise going on here. Cool. Okay, we're going to need to steer this back, of course. That's going to be complicated. We're trying. We're trying. Actually, we should switch off of the orbital info back into the this mode there, so you can see inputs. Perfect. We're trying. I'm actually not telling it to pitch like that. I'm not sure why it's trying to pitch. Oh, because it's trying to steer back to prograde. SAS is handling that. Fair enough. Okay, so we're going to attempt to stop here. We're going to need to burn this soon, but we don't know what the actual burn time is going to be. So let's just get aligned to the node. We're now in space. We know that we need to burn this at T-minus 12 seconds. So let's go ahead and warp towards that. Okay. It's going to be a full prograde burn, so we may as well lock to that. And off we go. This will circularize us, and we'll basically finish up this stage. Not entirely, but close. Okay, sounds good. So we can see that our periapsis height is coming on up. There we go. This is a little bit more elliptical than I would have liked. Let's physics warp around to retrograde and see if we can fix that a little bit. Okay, I'd like to circularize this just slightly. It's not, strictly speaking, necessary, but we'll just try to do that a bit. Okay, we'd probably need to go, like, radial if we wanted to really circularize it, but this is close enough. Yeah, this is close enough. We'll call that good, and we can use the rest of this tank for deorbiting. So we'll head back to the Space Center. It's going to be a little bit awkward to get lined up. Well, actually, no, it isn't. We can just turn each to each other. That's not a big deal. This isn't a station. These are just two crafts. Yeah, that won't be too bad. So we're going to need to launch our chaser craft here. The sooner, the better. And of course, we are going to be bringing Valentina and Bob. We'll go ahead and off we go as soon as we can. We're going to need to target a slightly different orbit. Probably going to go a little higher for this orbit. So that'll be fine. We'll go ahead and start pitching on over. Maybe a little aggressive here. We'll just hold here for a moment while we prograde. Okay, we will go ahead and hop to prograde now. Cool. This one doesn't have KER. That's weird. Okay, well, we'll just hop over here. We can see that our heading is pretty far off. We're going to try to correct that. Ooh, that overshot. We've got a pretty big rock going here. Whoa, okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Stop it. I'm not sure what the SAS is doing. We're going to attempt to correct this flight trajectory here. Okay, back to prograde, please. We're just massively overcorrecting is what's happening here. Massively overcorrecting when I'm trying to go to prograde. Wild. Okay. Well. Apparently we are too maneuverable. Is it just me, or does this feel wildly different from the last rocket that we launched? It really, really does. Very strange. Okay. I'm not sure what's happening here, if I'm honest. Well, we're going to abort this flight. This feels very different, and there's no KER. I'm not sure what the actual difference is here. But for the moment, we're just tumbling, and that's okay. We will physics warp for a bit. We are headed down, and the parachutes should straighten us out eventually. We just want to turn retrograde, so we're going to steer towards retrograde. And in fact, I'm going to burn a little bit here, just so that we can steer with our gimbaling. This is very different feeling. Very, very different feeling. And I don't really know what to say about it. Like, even full burn, we're having a hard time actually getting to retrograde. Strange. We'll just turn SAS off for the moment. I mean, we're kind of doing a belly flop right now. Starting to speed back up. And now we're just starting to spin. We do want to be back at retrograde. This is where we want to be. This is wild, though. I don't know what's going on here. This is feeling so different. Okay, so there's a chute opening. We're also moving a lot slower than we were previously, and I think part of that is because we were basically belly flopping. Our mains should open momentarily, but just the drogues are slowing us down a lot. The mains are opening now. Absolutely wild. This is holding us at a much lower speed as well. Why is this so different from the last one that we flew? Okay. That's kind of insane. Well, we're going to do a bit of a burn here to slow us down enough that we don't lose anything. And we'll call that flight a failure. I'm not sure exactly what was going on there, but we'll go ahead and have Bob EVA and grab a surface sample. And we'll just recover. We're on a ladder, right. We'll hop back in, and then we'll recover it. There we go. I can't explain why that felt so different, or why KER wasn't there when it was before. What was different about that? It was still the overkill Docker. Was it just ascent profile? I mean, that was a little bit different. Maybe Valentina's just very bad at flying this thing. I don't know. We'll try it again and see what happens. Now, to be clear, the first time I didn't expect there to be a KER. But I didn't expect that to change. Very strange. Yeah, we don't have any Kerbal engineer on here this time. And we didn't before either. I don't know why it was working. I guess that was a bug. Well, let's try this again with no changes and see if that same situation ends up happening. Just pop that over. We'll just go prograde here. We're a little off the node. I did try to correct it previously by doing things like this. But, I mean, ultimately it doesn't really matter that much. But I do want to bring that up. And then see, it overcorrects a little bit. But I guess we're okay here. Apoapsis of about 20 kilometers right now. And we're starting to move pretty good here. This is feeling much more like the first flight. I don't really have an explanation for what happened last flight. Other than things got out of control. I guess sometimes that just happens. We'll just chalk it up to Valentina not being very good at her job. But that's okay. That's why she's here, after all. She needs more skill. And we only have 2 pilots. And we're doing a docking mission. There's that too. So we're on our way up. Apoapsis is going to target about here, 110. That'll be fine. We just want to encapsulate this slightly. So we're going to push out this orbit about like so. There we go. This will use up basically this entire amount of fuel. That's completely fine. Completely and totally fine. So we're going to physics warp on up until we hit space here. Yeah, 27 seconds on this burn. Okay. So we're going to want to burn this at T minus, 13 and a half seconds is when we'd want to do it. Yeah, 13 and a half. It's a pure prograde burn, so we'll just stick to prograde. And we'll just give ourselves a little bit of time to turn over to prograde. There we go. We can physics warp the rest of the way. 13 and a half seconds. So right now. Technically, we should have done it at 13 and a half seconds from Apoapsis. But whatever. Okay. So we're going to burn out virtually this entire stage. We went for a little higher of an orbit, and I did that deliberately. Okay, let's just try to circularize this a wee bit. Good enough. That'll do. We've got 70 meters per second left in this, but we need to mark this as our target. And we can see that we are about 3.1 degrees off. So at this descending node, we will go ahead and put in a maneuver. And there we go. We'll add that. And we'll just do, not that, this way. So 3.1 degrees of change here. There we go. That'll do. Excellent. Of course, this will use up this entire tank, and that's absolutely fine. We'll go ahead and turn over towards this. And once we arrive there, we will warp on over. We're going to want to burn this at like 2.5 seconds. That's pretty close, but that's fine. Okay, that'll do. Hello, sun. And we will go ahead and burn this in a moment here. We're going to burn a little bit further, or rather warp a little bit further. To about here. Okay, we'll just try to angle this a little bit better. We can't lock to the node, sadly, but we can try to position it a little bit more. We need to burn. Oof. Okay. Whoa. We're trying to go to this node. Yeah, that's not where we want to go, buddy. Okay. Let's position right here. That would be the problem. I didn't move it off of prograde, but that's okay. 1.8 more meters per second. And we'll just do that. Cool. So we are now in the same plane. And the question now becomes, if we were to do a small retrograde burn here, where would we be? Quite far apart is the answer. I'm not hugely shocked by that. What if we waited in orbit? I mean, we'd have to wait a lot of orbits. So what if instead we got rid of this? No. We got rid of this. I want to click on the X button. There we go. We got rid of this. And we tried it somewhere over, like... Yeah, I mean, our timing isn't great. So we're going to have to wait for a number of orbits. I think that's pretty clear. It's not ideal, but it'll have to do. Sometime around then? Yeah. That's 5.6 kilometers. I mean, that's only 5 hours away, right? 4.3. Okay, that'll do. And then we tweak this a little bit. Get a little bit closer in. Maybe a bit of radial. 3.8 is the best we've got there. Okay. We'll move this to 0 and this to 0. 4.2 will do. That's close enough. So we will go ahead and hop on over here. We'll just go to target mode. And we'll position for the burn. And we will go ahead and warp to that. We're not going to get any science from this, so that's completely fine. Another 3 hours to warp here. It's a little bit blinding to warp from there, so we'll warp from here. Yeah, it's a number of orbits, for sure. This was not, perfect timing. And a lot of that, like, this timing would have been easier if we hadn't have had the first flight fail, but we did, and that's okay. So this is going to be a very, very minute burn here. Only 20 meters per second is what we need. We can see it's currently 80 kilometers away. And we're going to burn this fairly soon here. I think now is fine to burn at a lower speed here. Okay. Something along the lines of that. So we're now going to have an encounter up over here. We're going to want to burn target retrograde. Once we get there, we'll go ahead and warp to about here, 13 minutes in the future. That'll be fine. And we can see that the target is right over there, about 4 kilometers away. This is our closest intersect point, 4.2 kilometers. So we'll just go ahead and burn off our relative speed to be moving at exactly the same speed as the target. Okay, that'll do. And now we're going to want to burn towards target. Not target prograde, but towards target. Which is this one right here. Cool. So we'll burn pro target. And we'll move in at around 5 meters per second is probably more than enough. There we go. And then we'll flip target retrograde. And how's this looking for an intersect? That's awkward, for sure. But we'll just go ahead and warp on in until things are looking like they're not getting closer. I mean, at this point, we're still 4 kilometers out. 5 meters per second isn't a lot of meters per second. We should probably reset this and hop on over to here again. This is basically target retrograde, but we're just going to burn around 20 meters per second, 23 meters per second. There we go. Much better. 0.7 kilometers. We'll go ahead and warp here. Why, hello there. And we'll go ahead and kill our relative velocity. And we will head on in again. This time at a lower speed. This time we're going to target the 5 meters per second. That's 4. 5. There we go. And that's going to be 0.0 kilometers away. We'll flip around to target retrograde as we approach here. And we'll just warp on in a little bit. Why, hello there. Fancy meeting you here. Okay. That was a pretty good shot, actually. We're like 20 meters away. We're going to kill our relative speed. There we go. And we're going to set this as our target. Now we're going to point at the target. This is anti-target. We're going to need to go to the other way. There we go. Excellent. Now for the cumbersome part. And that is, we're going to swap over here. And we're going to make this be our target. And we're going to try to point this over there. We've got a lot of weight here that this particular one doesn't have. And of course, we're going to have to adjust this. We just need to get this approximately in the correct location. We'll position it here, and we will break it with a time warp. There we go. It's drifting back. Stop. Don't do that. Stay where I put you. Thank you. Please stay in stability mode. Okay. Stay here. No, don't drift. Okay. I mean, we're moving relative to each other. That's to be expected to some degree. So we'll realign this, and then we'll need to realign this one as well. There we go. And now we will head on in a little bit. We can turn RCS on at this point, although we want to turn SAS off for that. So we're going to head in a little bit, and I need to try to remember IJKL, correct? Correct. Okay. There we go. Docking forces should probably handle our slight misalignment from here, is my guess. Yes. There we go. We have successfully docked. Unable to deployed to transmit. Deployed science cluster has no comnet connection to home. Yes, that's fine. It'll get one soon enough. We started constructing the first station. I mean, this isn't intended to be a station, but we did dock around Kerbal. Excellent. Okay, so that is complete, and it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we will bring these guys on back home. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.